Oh, hello, this was Whimsical episode 53 of the season.
Stop it.
It's a terrible impersonation of Alistair. I apologize.
See, I only let you lead into the episodes because I think that you're just going to be like, hello, everyone in the podcast audience. It's us. Here's the episode.
5 of you.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm not going to be professional at all. And I'm like, why do I keep falling for this every time?
Yes. We think there's like 5 of you because there's like 2 of us and there's Giovanni and like Robin the Minion listens to that's 4 and this so
Creature.
Okay, so there's 5. Now somebody needs to demonstrate there are in fact 6 listeners, so if you're the 6th listener of the show, then please, make a t-shirt or send us an image or tweet me or something.
You're the 6th listener, right, the show.
Yes. Totally not ripping off an idea from Dogma Debate.
What?
There's a podcast I sometimes listen to when I'm traveling. They have a thing called, they call their fans the 4th listeners because they joke there's only 3 people listening.
Oh.
So it's a similar sort of thing.
Is it like breaking the 4th wall? Breaking the 4th listener?
Probably not.
That sounds kind of unfortunate.
Depends how you break them, if it's consensual or not.
So anyway, how have you been?
I've been in the incredibly civilized time zone.
Shut up. America's got nukes. We rule the world.
Our clocks went back last week, and I'm still tired from it.
That's how I felt.
So, going forward.
From your country, I was like, ugh. Although it was a great excuse, because if I was, like, tired at work, I was like, ugh. People are like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm jet lagged. Like, oh, it's alright. I'm like, I know, right?
You now know exactly how I feel whenever I go to visit you.
Cry me a river.
I always find it worse going over to yours than coming back.
Well, that's what I was doing. I adapted pretty well to your time zone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's easier going east.
Really? It is?
Well, physically, we both found it easier whenever going from America to here.
I thought it was like some kind of established fact or something like that.
Maybe it is. It's probably... I doubt there's any scientific evidence for it either way.
We'll have to call Mythbusters.
Yes. So what's the first subject? Oh, now in a totally different country from me person?
Well, actually, we're going to talk some current affairs, because it's pretty topical, and it's pretty funny, but okay, I might be the only person with that opinion. You've probably heard that there is somebody running for Congress in Florida, the great state of Florida, who is trying to defeat the person who has the seat now, on the basis that they're they're not conservative enough, they're too liberal. And now they're trying to unseat a Tea Party person on the basis that they're too liberal. Now, the funny thing is, it's a young congressman, or attempting to be congressman, and some interesting details have come up about what he does in his spare time. Apparently, he's a vampire LARP'er. And that's not all. The story has included, pictures of him in character emails, a whole bunch of stuff. And it's caused quite a stir on the blogosphere.
I don't know why, but I'm getting the feeling that this guy might be called Edgar Arch.
I don't get it.
Well, check through the comments of our video and you might find the guy who has a name very similar to that.
Oh, yeah, the guy that mixes up with Lewis all the time.
Yeah.
But, well, here's the thing. I'm of two minds of this, because I used to be a member of the LARP club that he is or was a part. It doesn't make it clear if he's still a member of the society or not. But,
probably not.
So, and actually some people that I know this guy. And, everyone's like, well, I think his politics are abhorrent, and I would never totally vote for him, but people shouldn't be mean. And here's the thing. I mean, I've LARPed for many years. I don't really LARP much now because I'm, usually busy, and yeah, it sucks that someone's taking someone's harmless, geeky pastime and using it against them in the real world. But at the same time, if you're running as a Republican, they kind of take that kind of stuff really seriously, more than, their liberal counterparts would. And also, if you're running for public office, you should really be ready for people to totally dig up everything they can about your life.
Yeah, the Republicans are a bunch of crazy shitheads when it comes to a lot of issues, and LARPing, especially LARPing in character about sort of vampires and witchcraft and, werewolves and shit like that, that's the sort of thing that tends to terrify religious crazy people who are elderly.
Yeah.
And that's the entire Republican Party, except for like one guy, maybe 2 guys, 3 guys who can hang out in a broom closet together at CPAC.
And the thing is that, like, they're calling it, a rape cult, which is very, very, very inaccurate, because apparently somebody dug up from one of the email lists an in-character email where, apparently he's threatening to rape another character. And I know as far as, White Wolf and this society goes, that in Vampire the Masquerade, first of all, there's no touching. If you're touching in LARP, you're automatically doing it wrong. And second of all, you can roleplay, really dark stuff, as long as you have the consent of everyone involved in the scene. So, say if I was role-playing with you, and my character's like, I'm totally going to rape the shit out of you until I kill you, I'm just saying. Your character is like, oh, haha, dear, you always say those things. I mean, we are comfortable with each other's boundaries in character, and, we understand that, but to somebody from the outside, that could look pretty bad.
I've LARPed, but not as much as you. I'm not a member of the club in particular, mainly because they don't operate in the UK, I don't think.
They used to way back in the day, and then there was some huge drama, and the whole entire UK affiliate was disbanded. But there are groups in Ireland that are affiliated with a different organization. And actually, I've talked to the guy that runs the organization in Ireland about maybe when I move over to yours starting up a chapter in Derry. But
whenever I played the game over in England, when I went to university there, the club in question was not viewed very well, shall I say.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing that if you squint it does look bad from the outside, but on the other hand, if people are doing illegal shit, then get them for that. Basically, LARPing getting at LARPers is like accusing people who dress up as Confederates in order to reenact Civil War battles, accusing them of slavery.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a very well understood pastime, and there's still a stigma attached to it. And, I know, it is geek baiting and stuff like that, but at the same time, I really, really, really want to say to this guy, well, didn't you think that this would happen? Like, when you run for public office, that's what's going to happen. Like, if you ever decided to run for public office, you better bet that, your opponent would have you in full Hagen makeup, all over the cover of the Daily Mail the next day.
It's fucking ridiculous. But, on the other hand, this guy is choosing to go as Republican. Remember, it's not Democrats who are basically shitting on the guy for enjoying dressing up and basically take part in a cross between Dungeons & Dragons, Gothness, and a community theater.
Yeah, actually, if you don't know what we're talking about, White Wolf is a roleplay publisher that they were responsible for the Gothic horror setting in the mid to late 90s. They have a New World of Darkness that's kind of more updated, but their games are mostly storytelling games of personal horror, where you portray a werewolf, a vampire, a mage, a changeling fey creature, or some other sort of the such, and basically how you respond to your world as trying to keep your humanity when you're obviously part mythological creature. I'm sure that Google will be able to find you more information.
Yeah.
But the games are really good, and I enjoy them.
But it's not the Democrats who are shitting on this guy for this. It's the Republicans. The Republicans are Republican Party is, they have a base, all of which will be dedicated to hating this version of LARP, this type of LARP, probably any type of LARP. Plus, you got people who are absolutely horrible about digging shit up and misinterpreting it. Yeah. Basically, this guy, if he wanted any chance of succeeding, he should have run as a Democrat.
Well, the thing is, I'm really not surprised that he's running as a Republican, because the LARP organization, the joke always was, what do you mean we're only role-playing as vampires? Because a lot of the people ran their personal existence in a very Machiavellian kind of way. Like, I've seen, people who fall afoul of certain, very conservative, actually, very powerful members of the organization, have their lives completely restructured and completely run roughshod over, by folks. And when the Republicans call it a cult, sometimes it's not that far off. Like, I mean, if you're in a situation where all of your friends are in the club, that's all anyone ever talks about is club business and club gossip and stuff like that, and you fall afoul of a ruling clique, that can really, really take your life apart, where all of a sudden you can't talk to your friends. If you've been suspended, you could get in trouble for trying to talk about the club with your friends.
Although it's not very different compared to other cliquish, hierarchical sort of communities where you've got make friends with people who are inside the club and things like that. It's
not anything special, but it is, you know, I wouldn't use the word cult, but the behavior of members can trend a bit cultish in certain situations.
Oh yeah, but then again, a lot of things can.
Yeah. Like how everyone should be in the cult of Lesbian Talk. You know, we're just saying. Pay your dues.
Yes. The signal for you to give your lives over entirely to Lesbian Talk is when we have a Patreon page set up.
Yeah, but that sounds really complicated, and you have to, like, make up prizes for people, and I'm not really that crafty, so.
We have, like, the second show, the members-only show, where we do the recording naked.
I was about to say, you were entirely naked. Only you will know.
And we'll talk about whatever subjects you say. The first 3 subjects that people sort of message us in about who are full members and paid up or whatever, we will talk about those regardless of what they are. So, episode 1 of the special show, we were talking about zoophilia, we were talking about zebras, and that crazy working out the shape of your skull, that means you're stupid type thing. Phrenology. Yeah, that's going to be our first episode because people have spoken.
I want to know who is the person who'd be like, I really wish they'd talk about phrenology on Lesbian Talk. Man, what are they going to talk about that? You know there's one person out there.
Even though that was entirely sort of like jokey and made up, that's actually the sort of way that we would, if we were going to do a Patreon page, that's probably how it would be set up. But it's the sort of thing that's more feasible when we're actually together.
You see, the problem is that I really don't see doing a Patreon page because there's really no cost involved with the show at all. Because I already have the mic, I already have Adobe Audition, and, you know, there's not really any money that's required.
That's true, but on the other hand, it's basically these people doing a subscription service for the show.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
It's the sort of thing that might happen, might not, we don't know.
Someday, if we ever... If I ever raised money online, it would be a Kickstarter for publishing costs for, like, a self-published novel. Like, that's really the only thing that I could see myself needing to raise money online for.
My other... If I was going to do a Patreon thing, it would be probably to help out the backseat critiques, because
because you do have to put money into that.
Yeah, I don't recall any of those actually making money. Prices of cinema tickets compared to ad revenue, I don't think any episodes of those have actually made money.
Mm-hmm. So everyone has to go watch them, like, right now. But anyway, But
I suppose if I did set that up, Backstreet Critique would become a thing that is only viewable by Patreon people. So that's an idea, I suppose.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, getting back to our Tea Party LARP'er. Although every time I say that, I think of, like, someone who, like, you know, cosplays, like, you know, Alice in Wonderland Tea Party kind of thing.
That'd be hilarious.
Like, sitting around, like, would you like some more Earl Grey? No, I'm the Mad Hatter, I don't want any.
Or you could have a guy dressing up as Uncle Sam, and then he's doing a LARP where he's actually at CPAC.
That's really disturbing, actually.
Well, they had cosplayers at CPAC. They're a bunch of nerds. They just didn't know.
He really did. I needed someone, like, dressed as Sephiroth just to, like, counter that out. It's like, can I come to the convention? I'm an evil overlord, too. No, you can't. You have girly hair. Oh. Sephiroth would totally be kicked out of CPAC.
Probably.
He's just not conservative enough. Yeah, but so, to wrap all that up, I feel that, while it sucks that someone's geekiness is being used against them, really, what did you expect?
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, I know that, like, kids these days, you know, do everything on the internet, and some of us who are older, like, fortunately, all of my formative years, because I don't think we got the internet until I was, like, 14 or 15, you know, that will never be recorded anywhere. But, you know, I don't use my real name online most times because I don't want to deal with that 20 years from now when someone's like, hey, look at this fanfic. I don't write fanfics, that's a bad example. Look at this thing you did on Blip, and I'll be like, oh no, embarrassing, you know. So, if you're going to be a vampire, kids, just make sure you don't tag yourself and then run for government.
Yeah, although we've got the current generation who grow up and they're stupid teenagers on the internet and using their real names before they realize, you know, they have a short window before they realize that. But then you've got you've got minor movements right now which are forcing people to use their real names. It's conceivable, I suppose, in a generation or two that we're going to have the people who are going into government are the people who grow up in a situation where they have to use their real names on the internet, and all of their stupid things are there for anyone to find. What we might see in the coming generations is entirely rewriting of the concept of privacy.
That's a good point. When just everything is online by default, you can't opt out.
Yeah, like, our concept of privacy is very, very different from about 100 years ago, which was very different from 100 years before that. And
well, privacy waxes and wanes because, like, if you're going to go all the way back to, like, medieval Europe, where you had half the village in your bedroom on your wedding night just to make sure you conceive,
That might have been at least partly a myth, I'm not sure. But if you go further than that,
I don't think that it was a myth.
Fair enough. We can look that up.
Yeah, actually, I say somebody as though our audience is listening in real time. Honey, you be in charge of Googling that, because I think that it was not a myth. I think that was actual practice.
But even going further than that to, like, Iron Age stuff, you would have an entire family, usually with, lots and lots of children, as many children as they can squeeze out because they're all going to die, living in one-room hut. And therefore you got the parents having sex, possibly in the same bed as their children.
Yeah, privacy waxes and wanes, and I think that this is, the internet is going to be one of those tipping points that, provokes another wax and wane.
Yeah, it's gonna be different, and it'll certainly be interesting, and I, for one, I'm a very, very private person. I don't use my real name in the stuff I do because I like to have privacy. But definitely see the argument that says that a lack of privacy on the internet might force people to become better people, because if you're being shit-headed, then you're going to be exposed.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you always find out, like, someone said something really horrible online to somebody else who tracked them down, and they were using their corporate computer from their workplace, and then they got fired. And I don't feel bad when stuff like that happens. You know why? Because if you say it on the internet, it's just like saying it in real life.
Well, the part of the reason they say it on the internet when they wouldn't say it in real life is because I think we're in the middle of a transitionary phase where we don't see the internet as real, and that's why people don't mind trolls so much, or they're just like, oh, they are just trolling, they're just saying horrible things, whatever. I think as the species gets more used to the internet, generation over generation, internet will be not seen as different from real life, it will be seen as part of real life, because it is part of real life.
As an extension, you mean?
Yeah. And hopefully that will change behavior, because people, at least part of the reason why some people say horrible things on the internet is because they don't see it as real as real life.
Well, they can get away with it. It's like the kind of thing like, what would you do if you knew that you could get away with it?
Yeah. Like even just on my own thing. If I sometimes go to politics boards and I will debate stuff, but I am far more brutal on the internet, in debates than I would be in real life. It's hypocritical.
The only thing about that you can argue about stuff on the internet is because people can't punch you in the face over the internet.
Possibly. But I realize at the same time that's hypocritical of me.
You do like to pick fights on the internet. And that leads perfectly into our second topic because, honey, what do you love to pick fights on the internet about the most?
Doctor Who?
No, the other one.
Crappy Doctor Who?
No.
Christopher Lloyd?
No. When have you ever picked a fight about Christopher Lloyd?
Insert flashback here of the argument with someone about whether Christopher Lloyd is in Sin City 2 or not.
No, I don't. You've never picked a fight about Christopher Lloyd. No, be honest. What are we really talking about next?
We're talking about the fact that Saudi fucking Arabia, one of the most fucking awful fucking countries in the fucking world, you piece of fucking shit.
She said.
You can quote me on that. Fuck you, Saudi Arabia. They have declared that everyone who is openly and merrily and incontrovertibly an atheist is basically a terrorist.
You're a terrorist!
How dare you terrorize us by pointing out the logical fallacies of your theocratic, idiocy-driven fucking kingdom.
And I think that's, because a lot of terrorists, in the traditional sense of the word, come from Saudi Arabia. So it's kind of, I don't know.
Well, it's to be expected, honestly, because, whenever America decided that the big danger in the world was terrorism, if you look at the reports and stuff, at that moment, now more, it sort of grew, but from that moment, if you didn't like something, terrorist became the term that was used, because terrorist became the catch-all for anything you don't like, whether it actually makes sense or not.
That's very true.
No, and this is just really fucking annoying. Saudi Arabia, a country that, I can't remember, do they let women drive?
No, they don't. I don't think so.
If they don't, either they don't or they just have allowed them. The country which I'm fairly sure executes people for non-crimes like being gay. They're calling me a terrorist just because I have the temerity to say, excuse me, have you got evidence for the fact that, Muhammad flew a few hundred miles in a winged horse? Or the idea that the
Really?
moon,
That's a thing?
In the Quran, yes. And then he ascended into heaven off the rock.
Like a Greek, like a Pegasus?
I don't know if it's winged or not, but it was flying, definitely. And then he leapt into heaven on the horse from the rock. That's why they have the Dome of the Rock. That's why it's so holy to them.
Oh. Like an anime leap? Like he crouched down and sprung up and leaped?
I think he was on the horse.
Oh. That's not as good.
And then there's the other thing which they have where the moon is actually pretty small, and if you follow it in the sky, you can actually find the part where it actually goes into this pool of water on the earth. That's where it goes during the day.
What?
That's in the Quran.
Well, I guess
But to be fair, it's no stupider.
In the day when we still thought the earth was flat, so.
Yeah, it's no stupider than the shit that's said in the Bible. You got people who are teaching shit like that as literal, who are calling me a terrorist because I say, you're fucking idiotic. It's bad enough when we get called militant simply for talking to people. If you want to call a Christian militant, you better have a good fucking reason, because if you're going to call a Christian militant, either they've blown up an abortion clinic or they're planning to blow up an abortion clinic. You want to call a Muslim militant? You gotta have them at least killed 2 people. You want to call an atheist militant? They gotta have access to vocal cords and an opinion.
Well, I don't know. I do encounter that a lot on the internet.
What, just your mere presence being horrible to people?
No, well, there's that. But that's a really common stereotype on the internet. The smug atheist that will debate everything, and everything you say even has nothing to do with theology at all. Who think that they're inherently better just because they're an atheist. So that is an actual stereotype. It was pretty funny because someone put together a compilation of smug guys in fedoras with atheist sayings, except one of the pictures used in the compilation was Linkara, who, as far as I know, is a Christian.
He is a Christian. He's a very moderate Christian.
I just thought that was because I think it was linked on Reddit, and someone's like, "Isn't that Linkara?" Oh yeah, it is. Wait a second, he's Christian, isn't he? I thought that was kind of funny. But that is a real online stereotype. But I don't think it warrants something that would potentially carry criminal charges, like being accused of being a terrorist, for example.
Well, being an atheist in Saudi Arabia is already illegal. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong about this. I think they only accept it's illegal to be anything but Muslim. I think you might be allowed to be Jewish and Christian, but you cannot convert. You can convert to Islam. You cannot convert from Islam. If you do, you're executed, because that's what the Quran says should be done.
So what if you're a businessman from Japan and you're a Taoist and you're visiting? Will you get executed?
If you're a big businessman coming over from Japan and you're a Taoist, I doubt they're going to execute you or anything like that or arrest you. They'll probably just turn a blind eye to you. But if you're a local and you're an atheist, you will have been brought up most likely as a Muslim, and if you're openly atheist, you will be fucking arrested. You may well be executed.
This is just another reason why I'm never going to the Middle East for any reason ever.
Yeah, avoid most of the Middle East.
You're always like, we should go to Israel someday. I'm like, no, we're not. We're going to be killed by somebody for something, and it's not going to happen.
Israel depends on where you go. I have been to Israel before, and I found it a mostly pleasant experience.
That was back in the day, before everything exploded.
Back in the day?
Things weren't as bad back then. Well, when did you go? What year was it?
I went about 15 years ago.
There you go.
What, Israel, it was worse now, it's worse now than it was 15 years ago?
I would
really?
say that, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure how you can measure that. As far as I can tell, it's roughly the same.
I would just never want to visit any part of the Middle East ever.
Well, I'm happy to avoid the rest of the Middle East, but I'd quite like to go to Israel again. I'd like to visit Jerusalem. Previously I was only in Haifa and Akka, and I would like to...
Yeah, but apparently, according to you, Haifa's the safe part. I don't want to go to Jerusalem. Everything's getting
Haifa is the safe part. Haifa was only damaged once. That was during the really short war with, I believe it was Lebanon, and it got minor damage there. But I would like to go to Jerusalem. I'd be fascinated to see all the old stuff. It would be like Rome, but slightly more dangerous.
We can always go to Rome. You've been before.
Yeah, Rome's fascinating.
So let's go to Rome instead.
You just wander around, and then it's like, holy shit, there's a 2,000-year-old pyramid.
Every 5 seconds, they'd be like, honey, look, that's older than your country. Ha. Who's young now?
It is a bit like going to a very warm outdoor version of the British Museum, where people have built a lot of stuff in it.
And people speak Italian.
Yeah, most of them do. Strange that.
In Italy.
Yeah.
It's alright, I took 2 years of Latin, I'll probably be fine. That's a complete lie. But, yeah, I mean, but see, the thing is that, like, and this is a terrible thought, I actually wondered, how far are we away from, like, one of the idiot states actually coming up with legislature to propose the same thing. Because they'll think, well, it worked in the Middle East. It worked in the Holy Land.
That's the sort of thing. Well, remember North Carolina a couple of years ago was trying to create legislation that would make Christianity its official religion.
Yeah, and everybody's like, no.
And it was smacked down a bunch. So, someone's going to probably try it, and then it'll end up getting overturned. Or, it'll end up going to the Supreme Court, and the shitheads in the Supreme Court will hold on to it.
Everything that happens makes me just hate this country so fucking much. Like, I know that there are problems wherever you live, and I know that, Northern Ireland and the UK, they've got problems too, but your problems seem, less, I don't know, fascist and crazy than the ones in the US right now. Just saying.
They're different. When you live here, you will develop hatred for it.
Probably, but I just won't feel so daily threatened as I do in the States.
Probably not. Well, there's less guns around in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm not worried about guns so much as being blown up, so...
Well, blown up is probably more likely here.
Oh, there you go. That and bad curry. What happened? Why was she in the hospital? Oh, it was bad curry,
Because you don't have much explosive stuff happening in America, at least, near you. Well, over in Northern Ireland, it happens occasionally, but I've never seen a bomb. I've only heard one in my entire life.
Yeah, but that's still one more bomb than me.
Yeah, but you gotta admit, for a country that's famous for, importing and exporting explosions, Northern Ireland, going through your entire life living here and only having heard one and never seeing any. You've seen the aftermath of a bunch of them, but you've never actually experienced them yourself. You've never lost anyone to that.
Good point. And you guys don't lose people to, like, horrific weather either, so... Yeah.
So you'd be surprised about how, even when the terrorism was actually a full-on thing, like right now it's not really a thing, and how life just continued on. Like, you had sections of the city you couldn't get into because of barricades or whatever. You had, like, lots of armored police and all that. That's what it was like when I was growing up. But you also had, like, there's this wonderful photo, which I'm sure was taken near Teddy's house, of this guy walking down the street to a pub during a gunfight, and he's like ducking underneath the soldier's rifle on his way to the pub. Just like, do.
That's what I was like, could you get the fuck out of the way? No, sorry, I want to get a pint.
Yeah, and I gotta see if I can find a picture of this so you can put it in the video.
Don't do that, because I always forget, and then I just have pictures up anyway. So then they're always like, oh, well, don't worry, I'll have the visual up during this part, and I never do, so don't make any promises. And I know, it's just that, like, people in the comments are like, oh, you're misandric heterophobes, and by the way, this has been your misandric heterophobe moment of the show. But, when that's all you get bombarded with is media about how much people hate you, and it gets really tiring. I don't know.
It really does. And it just keeps getting added to, and now Mississippi is saying that, they can legally beat the shit out of us even though they could already do that.
That's going to get taken, that's going to go right to the Supreme Court.
Probably.
And that's just the thing, it's just like either, it's full of news stories about how much people hate you, or it's full of news stories about how the people who hate you are making themselves look like victims, so they'll be allowed to do worse things to you.
Yep. So enough hating on Saudi Arabia. To anyone who listens who is Saudi Arabian, I don't know if we've got a massive fan base there. I'd be surprised if we did. But
if you're from Saudi Arabia, write the show.
You're Your landscape is wonderful. You've got a lot of amazing archaeological and sort of historical stuff there. Give me time and I will rant about the fact that your current government has systematically destroyed all your ancient historical sites to do with Muhammad and all the locations connected with him, except for the Kaaba for some reason. I really just wish that Saudi Arabia and Dubai and all the countries in that area would stop being such massive shitheads, because you have such wonderful things to offer to the world.
I agree.
Anyway, on to something a bit more queer. Or openly queer. We have another track by Marcus Reeves, aka Quicksilver, from his album, The Masquerade Macabre. This is the song, The Disappearing Man, which he played live at the party we were at over a week ago.
To-do.
And we're back. That was a lovely couple of minutes of very, very, very gay music. And Quicksilver has a website that you should all go and check out.
A website? Why, what would it be?
It would be something that I'm either going to have to... hey, look over there, it's a distraction.
What? A distraction? But nobody's singing.
www.reevescorner.co.uk/Quicksilver.
Ooh. I'll totally have that up as a caption during the song. In the past of the future. But
yeah, and it's also available on iTunes. You can download some of the tracks from the entire album on Amazon. It's hard to actually buy physical copies of the album, though, I've found out. But get the individual tracks. It's a really good album. I've listened to the whole thing, and I've saved about half the tracks, for my collection of music.
Well, there you go. So, do you know what time it is?
It is time for...
you got nothing. Don't you?
Geraldo.
It's not time. Geraldo hasn't been on in years. It's time. I guess he's on like Fox News or something. But it's time for everyone's favorite crustacean, who hasn't been with us last week because he didn't come to England. So there you go. Giovanni, are you with us?
Yeah, well, here I am. Got my little bow tie on and everything. How are you, my adoring radio public?
We're not radio.
Well, it's kind of like radio. It's just internet radio.
It's a podcast.
Yeah, internet radio. So anyway, I thought we'd have a bit of a risque trivia question today. Or trivia fact, really. I keep calling it a question. Maybe I should make it a question. Giovanni's question. Like, you could write it and then, like, I don't know, get a prize or something. But did you know that porn legend Ron Jeremy was in Ghostbusters? It's true. He was an extra in a crowd scene. His penis, however, nowhere to be seen, unfortunately.
I gotta tell you, knowing that, it puts the whole very end of the film and everyone gets covered in the white liquid to a completely different light.
Oh no. Oh no. Mr. Jeremy, what have you done?
Oh yes. Yes.
Mammals are disgusting. But anyway, that's it from me, and I'll see you all next week, everybody.
You were so nice to him this time. Kind of.
I was so nothing to him.
Yeah, well. At least you weren't telling him to go fuck himself, so I guess it's something.
I'm curious just how he would fuck himself.
Well, I mean, whenever you tell someone to go fuck themselves, I mean, it's like theoretical in nature. It's not like you think they're all like gonna go off and commit a sex act on themselves. It's like, hey, yeah, and the horse you rode in on, buddy. Except, with more force behind it.
Now, I have not looked this up.
Oh, dear.
But I'm fairly sure that someone who is ultra flexible has somehow managed to actually have sex with themselves in a full way. Like a guy has managed to have anal sex with himself. I'm sure someone's managed it. People are freaky.
I'm sure there is, but that would be, like, really specific. You'd be like, hey, you can go fuck yourself. The person's like, thanks, I think I will. I would have some issues with that. I'd feel really creepy afterwards.
Well, my reaction if I came across someone who was able to do that, I'd be impressed, because I imagine it would be very physically difficult.
Yeah, but you're still pissed off at them. I mean, you just told them to go fuck themselves.
True.
So would it negate the pissed offness? Like, if someone, like, came up and, like, stabbed me in the liver or something, and you're like, hey, you can go fuck yourself. And they were like, oh, actually, I can. Ha ha ha. Would you be like, I'm so impressed, with, like, stars in your eyes? While I'm, like, my liver is bleeding on the pavement? Aha! Didn't think of that situation, did you?
I'm confused.
Yeah, well.
I love yelling, go fuck yourself. It's one of my favorite sort of insults, although I don't actually understand why it's an insult.
Well, because it has the word fuck involved, so it must be.
It's...
My mom had some favorite swears when I was little. She would say pig fuck and fuckface. And then remind us that she learned to swear in the bad old 60s when it was allowed.
What if you pig fucking fuckface?
There you go. I used to say fuck nuts when I was in college. I don't know why. Numbnuts. I say numbnuts a lot.
You say cocksucker a lot.
I do.
As though it's some sort of a negative stereotype.
Well, because nothing pisses off a straight guy more than calling them a cocksucker. Just saying.
Yeah, but that indicates it's an insult.
Yeah, well, I don't suck cocks. So anyone who sucks cocks is different from me. So, like, anyone we know theoretically could be a cocksucker. Although that implies, like, a certain amount of devotion to it. Like, it's like an artisan craft or a trade. Like, you would be an apprentice cocksucker. Like, it's not something you do, like, occasionally. It's, like, you know, something that, you know, you're masterful at.
Well, have you ever seen the comic Oaklaugh?
I don't think I have.
Okay, it's sort of like this fantasy webcomic, but it's very, very sexually explicit. And they have, like, one ongoing story where this guy he's in a dungeon of some sort. No, he's in, like, this cave of some sort, and he's cursed by the spirit with the ability to be amazing at giving blowjobs. And so, but then he's like, haha, you are cursed forever with this, haha. And then he's like, well, what happens if I just don't suck anyone off? And he's like, well, then you will waste your talent, ha. But then later on, it's like this enemy come to attack his city, and then he ends up saving the city by sucking off the enemy general and declares himself king blowjob of the city, and he's able to fillet the city out of any problems at all.
Uh-huh. Do you think that Take Management would have a problem if we call this episode Apprentice Cocksucker?
I think Blip might.
Yeah, okay, never mind. We'll think of something else. But that aside, it's time for another regular feature of our show, One Time at the Store. Now, if you're just listening, if this is the first time you've ever heard Lesbian Talk, I've been working for, legally now, because that passed 2 weeks ago, my 10-year anniversary for over a decade at a large chain book retailer, and I have seen and heard pretty much all of it, and this story is one of those times. Now, last night, I was closing, and I was working upstairs where the kids department is, and this guy came up and he's like, yeah, I need this book, do you have it? And I was like, well, let me look it up on a computer. So the closest one was in kids, and the woman who was working in kids was on a 15, so that was fine. So that meant I could, you know, check through this section and see if anyone needed help. So he had 2 kids running around after him, and one was about, I think one must say maybe 4, and the other was about maybe 6 or 7. And so I'm looking up, it's a Minecraft book for kids. I'm like, oh, here, we do have it, sir. And the little kid was nearby him, but the older kid was like about, I want to say, maybe 15 yards away looking at something. And he goes, hey, Mateo, get over here. Yeah, I'm coming. No, get over here right now or I will call the police and they will take you to jail. And I just, what? And there was a young woman who was waiting for help after this guy, because she'd been standing over by the kids' desk, who looked at me and blinked, and I was like, I know, right? And I was like, oh, here's the book, sir, and I handed it to him. And he said, Mateo, get over here. I'm not kidding. I'm calling the police right now. He's like, yeah, I'm coming. And I was like, what? An idle threat. Like, I mean, I've heard some really great idle threats in my day, you know, but, like, I will call the police and they will take you to jail. I mean, like, you know, I've been the object of a threat. Like, if you don't behave yourself, that lady's going to tell you to leave. And I'm like, hey, that's not true. I would never tell a child to leave the section. I'd address the issue with their parents. But it was just like, how was he going to enforce? Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, you get older and you're like, yeah, my parents used to tell me if I didn't stick with them, they'd call the police. Oh, why? You know, talk to you about safety? No, to take me to jail. I mean, like, I can understand that if you threaten a child if you shoplift. I will call the police, and they'll take you to jail.
I think the dad is trying to convince his child that he's actually Vladimir Putin.
Some idle threats I've heard at the store are pretty funny. Like, there was this little toddler, and she was a real cutie, and this is a store I worked in years ago, and she was pitching a fit because we have, like, a little play area for kids with toys they can play with. And the mom's like, okay, we have to go do things and stuff. And the girl's like, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to play at the trains, no. And the mom's like, fine, then I'm leaving you here, and walked away. And the girl goes, yay, and then ran back to the trains, and it was, like, the complete opposite of what the mother expected, and I thought that was great. But, yeah, so... Did your parents ever do that? Idly threaten you with something that was completely unrealistic?
Not that I can recall. Honestly, I can't recall.
Your dad be like, get over here, or we're going to watch more quiz shows on TV.
No. If they're going to do anything, it would be, the old favorite, I'll give you something to cry about.
Even if you weren't crying?
Possibly.
See, my parents were pretty good with that kind of stuff, although... So I know that I've told this story before, but I don't think I've told it since we were on That Guy with the Glasses. So if you are a new listener, then it's new to you. But I was a little kid. I was in 1st or 2nd grade. My dad says to me, "You eat all your lunch at school?" And I said, "Of course I do," which was this big total lie, because I didn't eat, like, the crusts or anything I didn't like about it, or, like, raisins or something. And he said, "Well, that's very good, because there's people at school that we pay to watch you." And so I got really paranoid. So, you know, if somebody else was getting up to go throw their trash out of the lunchroom, I'd be like, "Hey, will you go throw my trash out? I'll give you a nickel." You know, or, like, one time I walked, like, we had these 3 big, huge trash cans, and beyond them was the hallway where the bathroom was. And, you know, so I walked past and went really near the trash can, and I, like bent my whole self in and said out loud, "Oh no, I'm going to throw up." And, like, bent over the trash can, threw my trash away real quick, then straightened up and said out loud, even though there's nobody around me, "Oh, false alarm, I'm fine." And then once I approached it from the side where the bathrooms were, and then actually shouted out, "Look, a penny!" And then, like, threw my trash in, like, with the one hand, like, and dived for, like, the pretend penny with the other, like, so the person would be distracted. And, you know, as I get older, as I got into, you know, like, 5th grade and then went on to middle school, I realized that, economically speaking, it really would be very expensive for my parents to employ people specifically to watch what I did at school. And then as I got into high school, I realized that it probably had never happened. And I brought this up, like, a few years ago. And my mom said to my dad, "Why did you tell her that?" And he's like, "I didn't know she'd believe me." And I was like, "Why wouldn't I believe you?"
It's still a classic story.
I should mention that both my parents are psychologists. They're PhDs.
Your parents, sometimes, you know, just going by some of the more eccentric stories, at times they can come across as well-meaning but accidental sociopaths.
I was really paranoid in elementary school. I was really, really certain that there were, like, you know, like, spies, like, dressed like Boris and Natasha or something like that from Rocky and Bullwinkle, skulking around with, like, Soviet accents. But then I saw, like, a TV show that kind of used the plot of Invasion of the Pod People, like that trope. So then I wondered, like, wow, are these people who don't really work for the school, but they lie and say that they're teacher assistants or lunch ladies or something, but actually my parents found them and paid them to be there? Because as a child, I was like, why would they lie to me? I mean, obviously, they're telling me the truth.
Well, yeah, people believe their parents. It's an evolutionary side effect, you know. A child will tend to believe their parents, because if they don't, then you've got the situation where parents are like, "Okay, don't go over there, a lion will eat you." And then if every child did not do that, therefore then the human race would be dead within a couple of generations.
We'd be ruled by lions.
Yes.
Lion.
So, evolutionarily, we tend to believe our parents. Even if we might not understand why they're saying something, or we might get overexcited and do it anyway, but we have a tendency to take what they say at face value if we're young enough. Then at a certain point, we're like, "No, we're going to fight back," and then it sort of equalizes out.
Yeah, but I still think that I'm a more paranoid person when I eat in public because of that. Just naturally. But, anyway, so I actually started playing a video game yesterday. And for once, it had only been out a year before I started playing it, as opposed to, like, a decade, which is my
horrifying.
Usual. I know, right? So I picked up Bioshock Infinite, and I picked it up used, because I was trading in some games, and I saw the trailer before it came out last year, and I was ready to like, throw down, trade everything in, and get a PS3. But then I realized I'd have to pay extra to run my Netflix through it, and I was like, I'm not in for that. I can do it free through the week. And now I pay to do it through Xbox anyway. But so I really wanted to get it. It looked really, really beautiful. Now, I've never played any of the other Bioshock games, I should mention. So I picked this up, and I put it in, and I had somehow missed the part where it's a first-person shooter. Because I was like, you know, I get off the boat, and then it's in first-person view, and the first thing I tried to do, of course, was monkey with the camera so I can draw out and see the back of my own head and have it like a full-screen view, and I realized, oh shit, oh, it's one of these games. Oh no, I'll never be able to see anything.
You will utterly fail.
I did.
You panic whenever you are stuck with a game that you are not familiar with.
I am, and I look it up on... I looked up the options online to see if there's any way to control the camera, and I was like, no. And I realized the last first-person shooter I played, like seriously played, was Doom 2. That's probably not good, is it?
Oh, no. Doom.
You ever played any of the Doom games?
Not very much. I'm not a big first-person shooter player. the last ones I played were Aliens vs. Predator, and the Xbox 360 Wolfenstein game.
Well, see, like when I was not little, but when I was in middle school, my parents picked up the original Doom as shareware somewhere and installed it, and it was I had a Sega, I had a Game Boy, and I had a Sega Genesis, but I didn't really have any really violent games because that was in the middle of the whole 90s. Oh no, violent games will make your child Hitler immediately, kind of thing. And so I had weapons, and I was killing demons in hell, and it was pretty cool. And I really, really liked it. And then when Doom 2 came out, I got it for my birthday. My mom said, we should probably not give you violent games, like it's fine. So I knew that game inside out. And of course, it got even better when IDD KFA, IDD BB. Wait, shoot, what was the God code? IDD QD and IDKFA give you the ultimate ammo. So, if I had a bad day at school, if people were bullying me at school, I'd come home, I'd warp to the last level of Doom 2, I would put on clipping where you could walk through walls. I'd turn off clipping so you could walk through walls, give myself God mode and infinite ammo, and go to the chamber where demons just spawn until you beat the game, and just, hide in the walls, let the room fill up with demons, and then just go on murder sprees. That's probably not something I should admit in public, is it? What?
I'm terrible at first-person shooters. I try. I beat the Aliens vs. Predator one, and the Wolfenstein one, I think I probably got about 3/4 of the way through. But the Wolfenstein 360 game was basically like playing Captain America, the first Avenger, but there's no Captain America.
Oh, just Nazis.
Well, there's Nazis when they got crazy magic and sort of a crazy high science and laser guns and incinerations and crazy magic science like they had in Captain America 1. But you haven't seen Captain America 1, have you?
Yeah, he's a douche anyway. Well, he is.
I worked out actually about Captain America what the key to his character.
What?
Because you know how Batman's actual power is that he's got the amazing ability to always
just rich.
He is just amazing at everything. That's his power. It's like he's Batman, therefore he can do anything, regardless of whether it makes sense or not.
Okay, I guess I can follow that.
Well, Captain America is his power is like super decency.
But that's not really a power, and that's kind of stupid.
He has.
If that was his mutant power, he'd be picked on at Professor X's school. Just saying.
Well, it's not really a power. It's a character quirk described as a power. But he is, as far as I can tell, he's always proved right. It's not because he's a Mary Sue. It's just because his character is it's that he is really good. Plus, the nature of the super soldier serum he got is supposed to take the best, the strongest elements of someone's personality and increase them. And he was always a good guy. Yeah,
but it just I guess the thing is that nobody's really a good guy anymore. So that comes across as super douchedom to me.
Well, yeah, no one's a super good guy. That's why it makes more sense that he's from the past.
Yeah, but even to modern audiences, we're so cynical that we're like, yeah, something's to douche,
But he keeps going on and trucking, and he never actually changes over the course of the film. It's like, for instance, I watched
zero character development, man.
No, he assists everyone else. He makes everyone else better.
I care in so little of a way.
Well, I'm not a big Captain America fan. The films are...
Is there a part where, Commander British kicks him in the balls? That's for the colonies.
I have no idea if there's ever been a bit like that. But I'm not a big fan of Captain America. But I think I'm finally getting him thanks to having watched Winter Soldier and First Avenger.
I know the plot of Winter Soldier because Mikey Insanity told me it last summer. So
yeah, it's basically... I think it was good. It's S.H.I.E.L.D., conspiracy, oh no, and oh no.
Hitler has a mech, and he's back somehow.
Oh no, Hitler's not back.
It's Captain Relevancy. Oh wait, it's not.
But first-person shooters, I'm just really bad at aiming. Even regular video games where I've got to aim stuff, I'm just not very good at it.
That's me in a nutshell. I was really good at Doom because you only had one axis. You could aim laterally, and I was fine with that. But I can't double axis toggle. I can't aim on the X and Y axis. I panic. So everything goes tits up at a certain point. And you have a melee weapon that you can actually strike people with. And you know what? I'm getting to the point where it's, I'm panicking and everyone's shooting at me. It's easier for me to rush someone who's shooting at me with a pistol and melee chop them to death in 2 hits, rather than to try to aim, get their leg, get their crotch, get their over the shoulder, then finally kill them. And then I have to run over and try to search their corpse for, like, a banana or cotton candy, which, like, refills my health, while other people are shooting at me, and there's evil machines that I have to throw powers at to control, but I don't have enough. It's blah.
Yeah, I'm far better at other things, shall we say.
You just like skulking around and jumping down on people as Batman.
Well, you can do that in Alien vs. Predator. One of the wonderful things about that game, and there's a very short list of wonderful things, but you can play as the Predator, you can play as, like, human soldiers, or you can play as the aliens.
I remember that, because I remember seeing reviews about that, and people said it's too much to try to do, and each thing is too short.
Yeah, but it's like 3 mini games in one. But the Alien was good because you could basically be like, do the Arkham Asylum type, skulking around, getting people's attention, making them break away from everyone else, and then, grab them out of the darkness and kill them.
Do you get to go, like, burst out of their stomach?
Your character begins, you begin with them bursting out of the chest, and then they sort of grow up during their life cycle and hopefully end up as a queen.
That's kind of
But
that's what Freddie Mercury said.
But one of the things you can do is, like, you grab the soldiers, you can either do the classic grab onto their head and then stick one of your tongues into their face to kill them, or you can grab them and then put a face hugger on top of them, so then they'll be left face hugged, so they'll become more aliens later on. But I have to confess I've
never actually seen any of the Alien movies. I just cultural osmosis.
I'm gonna have to show you at least the good ones.
I mean, I know the basic point, so
I'll only show you the good ones. We'll ignore one of these days. I'll show you Aliens, Alien 3 Director's Cut, the Predator movies, and that's it. You don't need to see Alien vs. Predator or Prometheus or Alien Resurrection or shit like that.
Okay.
And you'll be all like, wow, that was a waste of time.
Yep, probably. Well, like, with stuff, I mean, I always think I know the basic point. Like, if I know the basic idea and I know how it ends, I really don't bother. Like, I did get a hold of a copy of Frozen. I will watch it eventually, but I can't say that I'm not procrastinating about it. And I know it's the best movie ever, and every child that comes into the store says it's amazing, and every parent who comes in with a child says it's great, and everybody on Twitter, I'll get to it. I know the basic point.
Next film I'm going to watch is probably going to be Blackenstein.
That's why I love you, because you say things like that.
Well, it's in my review list now, just based on the title, but I got the Blaxploitation Frankenstein movie. I've also got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Black. And
so he's like white and then black. How does
that one? I've probably misquoted the name and I can't find the actual film, but it is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but Blaxploitation. I don't think the character starts off as white, though. Although, as a Blaxploitation film, that would be absolutely brilliant. I'm going to have to talk to Sean Weathers, the exploitation director, and basically say, I got a pitch for you. How about this? A white, sort of crappy Nebuchadnezzar type guy invents the thing, and he turns him into, like, this big sort of black guy who has sex with everyone.
Wouldn't that be just Urkel and his suave Urkel alter ego from Family Matters?
Probably, but, Sean Weathers loves just filming people having sex.
Okay.
So imagine the Urkel things crossed with, like, Schizophreniac without the killing.
You should tell Brad about it, so then, if he wants a cameo, then he can, like, cameo in this guy's movie.
I might mention.
I say as though this director that you're going to talk to has already made this movie.
Well, he's made a bunch of movies.
I like as though this will happen immediately, just because we've suggested it. So we'll get Brad a cameo. It'll be great.
It's the sort of thing I could actually mention because I'm in contact with Sean. He sent me his entire filmography, including Lust for Vengeance and Hookers in Revolt and all, and some of them are better than others, but I find him fascinating.
Are we going to have him on the show? We should.
I hope so. I'd love it. But he also sent me like these mock-ups for the DVD covers for his next two films because he's got two in post-production, and so I had to choose which of these I liked and why I liked them. He was basically using me as a DVD art focus group.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was like, so which of these do you like? And I was like, I like the middle one because it's got the juxtaposition of this really, sort of this naked black guy doing this, like, Superman pose, but then you've got these people looking ridiculous around him, so you've got like the mixes of tones there. Well, in the other ones, it's like all serious or all silly, but that's both at the same time.
So would you play an exploitation first-person shooter?
It would be very hard to do unless you're, like, running around killing prostitutes.
Well, you could do it all tongue-in-cheek, like, Grindhouse kind of thing.
Well, I suppose there's games a bit like that in tone, like there's Splatterhouse, which has entirely existed to have shit jumping sections and violence. Or a Thrill Kill or something. If it's a good game, then...
Schizophreniac for PS4.
That would be so good.
Oh, wouldn't it be horrifying? I don't even know what kind of rating that would get. There isn't even a rating for it.
I don't know, like
nobody.
Dante's Inferno, the game.
Dante's Inferno does not use the N-word.
Yeah, but it's not going to make the rating any higher if you've got bad language on top of sex and violence.
Yeah, but I don't really think that there ever could be a rating for Schizophrenia.
It's got a rating in America, the film. It's
no, but I mean if there was a video game, though.
It would certainly be interesting.
I just can't even say anything else after thinking about that idea. This is probably, we've gone to a bad place.
I've been playing because I recently upgraded my television, I was forced to upgrade my television to one that actually is widescreen and big.
Her brother got her a new TV for Christmas.
Oh, for my birthday. Yeah. And so I'm replaying games that I previously tried to play and failed at because the fucking screen was too small. I couldn't see what was going on. And one of the games I borrowed from Neil the Minion was Transformers War for Cybertron, and
I heard that was really bad.
It's a third-person shooter. It just seems very generic. It seems a lot like Space Marine, which I got about 3/4 of the way through.
See, I usually don't tend to play first-person shooters, but I'm going to give this a try. I mean, it auto-saves, which annoys me, because I'm one of those, stuck-up kind of people that wants to be able to save anywhere I please, not just at the inn or at the checkpoint. So, because I had to go to work, and so I was like, alright, well, I'll go into this building, because it usually auto-saves in buildings, and it did, and I realized that this place was called the Society of Faithful Ravens or something like that. So I walk in, and there's a big statue of John Wilkes Booth, and then I go into this bar, and I'm immediately attacked, so I shoot the place up, and I finally kill everyone. And there's a whole thing about protecting our race, and I'm like, wow, this is really great. I was being hunted by the police, and now I've walked into, basically the white power headquarters. That's where I saved. But I'm gonna keep at it. I'm not a quitter, usually.
Unless it's Saints Row.
No, that's also because I was sick of it and I was tired, and we could have been doing better things than me. So I can't double axis toggle on aiming. If it was auto aim, I'd have no problem. And sandbox games, I need a linear game. Sandbox games have too much for me.
Fair enough. Though you should really play Fable at some point. You'd probably find it simple and easy after playing Dragon Age.
Well, I have Fable 3, but I've watched someone playing part of the Fable series years back, and it just seemed a little bit silly. I walked in on my roommate playing it, and he was chopping wood for a really, really long time. I was like, why are you doing that? And he's like, well, 1, to get money, and 2, because there's a girl, and you can scan people and know what their favorite food is, if they're gay or straight, and what impresses them. She is impressed by wood chopping, and I'm like, you are such an idiot.
Well,
look, this guy's impressed by farting, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be saving the world or something? Not standing around in the village chopping wood and farting. Well
you do the jobs to make money, which is a bit silly. That's one of the issues with it. But the actual gameplay, it is a lot like Dragon Age 1, but you're a one-person team, you and your dog, but you can do magic, you can do shooting, you can do sword stuff.
Yeah, but Dragon Age has violence and sex and dragons, and Fable seemed to be very kind of like the Disney version of fantasy.
It's got less violence and sex, but with Fable 3, that's the one where you got to do political stuff and all.
Oh, I'm even worse at that. I was the worst vampire LARP'er. I'll be press X to vote for the bill. Oh no, I pressed circle. Oh no, I vetoed it. Oh god, now we've been invaded. I just can't handle it. But do you know what time it is?
It is time to go to a premiere screening.
No, it's time for the dictionary. The only thing is it's across the room, so hold on, I'm going to get that right now. Okay, so I have the Oxford American Dictionary in my hand. What page should I turn to?
542.
Alright. Alright, 1 or 2?
2.
Alright, 2. Out of 18.
15.
12, 13, 14, 15. Punishable. Liable to be punished, especially by law. Punishable offenses.
Okay, well, that certainly is going to be interesting if we actually get the LARPing dedicated episode off the ground, which we've been trying to do for, like, ever.
Trigger warning, I'll talk to him today and be like, what's the deal?
It's like, Derek, we need to arrange a thing to do this next week. And you have to watch the film in question.
I do have to watch the film in question. But, so hopefully next week we'll have that for you. But that's all for us from today. Do you have any special announcements of any kind to make? Anything important?
Not really. I'm still chugging away putting videos up every so often.
Watch your videos. What you must do is go watch the Myra Breckenridge crossover with Cinema Snob. Just saying.
That was fun. And Zinnia Jones turns up.
And a special guest cameo that I really appreciated. And another special guest cameo who I think forgot that he was involved.
Oh, yes. Film Brain.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It works perfectly, too, with the way he delivered the line and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, I was in this. You guys should go watch that on Brad's site. Yeah, but seriously, go check that out. It was a shit ton of fun to film and to be involved with, and Brad Jones, class act, just saying. Really nice guy.
All around.
Like, you'd think he would be somewhat snobbish, but actually he's not. Totally cool guy. But for this week, I've been the Omega Geek, and who would you have want to have been?
I have been Iron Brew.
Okay. I can deal with that. See y'all next week.